Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. Today we're diving deep into something I think a lot of you have probably thought about.
Okay.
This idea of committing to something,
Yes.
anything really, for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
What could happen? What kind of
Yeah.
transformation is possible?
Right.
And joining me to unpack all this is someone who really gets this.
Well, thank you.
Someone who's seen firsthand
Yeah.
the incredible changes that can happen when you harness that
Yeah.
6-month energy.
6 months. It's funny, isn't it? It seems like an arbitrary chunk of time,
Ah,
but there's something kind of mystical about what it can do.
yeah.
I think it's like the sweet spot where it's long enough to see real, tangible progress,
Yeah.
but not so long that it feels overwhelming or unattainable.
Yeah. And let's be honest.
Okay.
We live in a world that's basically designed to shatter our focus.
Oh, for sure.
Notifications buzzing, emails pinging,
Mm-hmm.
a never-ending stream of distractions, tempting us
Yeah.
at every turn.
Constantly.
So how do we even begin to carve out that space for
We're
deep, meaningful work in the midst of all that chaos?
I think that is like the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, like the first step is
Yeah.
recognizing that focus is a muscle that needs to be trained.
Okay.
We can't just expect to go from zero to hero overnight. You
Yeah.
can't just wake up one day and be like, I'm laser focused.
Right.
It's really about
Yeah.
making small, deliberate choices each day to strengthen that focus muscle.
So what does that look like in practice?
I think it can be as simple as starting your day with even just a few minutes
Okay.
of mindfulness,
Okay.
where you just sit and observe your breath without judgment.
Right.
Or maybe it's a commitment to
Yeah.
working on a specific task for even just 25 minutes
Right.
without checking your phone or email.
Got it.
The key is
Yeah.
you got to find these little pockets of time where you can practice being fully present,
Okay.
fully engaged
I got it.
in whatever it is you're doing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like building these little mental fences around our attention,
Yeah, for sure.
keeping those distractions at bay.
Uh-huh.
But I think for a lot of us,
Okay.
it's not just the external distractions, it's the internal ones too.
Oh, yeah.
Those nagging doubts,
Right.
those limiting beliefs.
Those little voices in our heads.
Yes.
You-
That whisper like, you're
Yeah.
not good enough or you'll never be able to do this.
Yeah. Those inner critics can be brutal.
So brutal.
And, I think one of the most powerful antidotes
Okay.
to those negative voices is specificity.
Specificity.
When we set these really vague goals,
Mm-hmm.
like be healthier,
Right.
learn a new language, it's so easy to get lost in the overwhelm
Right.
and for those doubts to just creep in.
Yeah.
But when we get crystal clear about what we want and break down those big goals into smaller, actionable steps,
Okay.
suddenly it becomes much easier
Right.
to silence those inner critics
Yeah.
and start taking action.
Love that. It's like we're giving our brains a roadmap,
Exactly.
a clear path to follow so we don't get lost.
100%. Think about it this way.
Okay.
If you were going on a cross-country road trip,
Okay.
you wouldn't just hop in the car and start driving aimlessly, right?
I hope not.
You'd have a destination in mind,
Yeah.
a route mapped out,
Right.
maybe even some fun stops planned along the way.
Totally.
And, setting goals is no different.
Yeah.
We need that clarity of vision, that
Agreed.
sense of direction to keep us motivated
Yeah.
moving forward.
So we've got our specific goals,
Okay.
our roadmap to success,
Yeah.
but even with the best intentions,
Yeah,
life has a way of throwing curveballs our way.
for sure.
How do we stay on track when those unexpected challenges inevitably pop up?
I think that's where having a solid support system comes in.
Okay, support system.
And by support system,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean like a formal group or organization.
Right.
This could be as simple as having one or two trusted friends
Okay.
that you can check in with regularly.
Right.
People who will cheer you on
Yeah.
when you're feeling discouraged
Uh-huh.
and hold you accountable when you start to slip.
I think sometimes we underestimate the power of simply having someone
Totally.
who believes in us.
Yes.
Someone who sees our potential even when we don't.
Uh-huh.
It can make all the difference in the world.
It really can.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be someone who's on the exact same journey as you.
Right.
It could be a mentor, a coach, a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even just a friend who's really good at listening
Yeah.
and offering words of encouragement.
Yeah, I remember when I was first starting out with this podcast,
Yeah.
I had a friend who would check in with me every week,
Oh, that's great.
asking about my progress and offering feedback on the episodes.
I love that.
Just knowing she was there, rooting for me,
Yeah.
gave me that extra boost of motivation
Sure.
to keep going when things got tough.
That's awesome. And you know what?
Yeah.
It highlights another really crucial aspect of a support system,
What's that?
accountability.
Okay.
Having someone who can gently nudge us back on track
Right.
when we stray from our goals
Yeah.
can be so invaluable.
It's true.
Because let's face it, we all have moments of weakness.
For sure.
You know those times when we'd rather hit snooze on our dreams
Right.
than face the challenges that come with pursuing them.
That is so true. And sometimes all it takes is that little nudge
Yeah.
from someone who cares
Mm-hmm.
to remind us why we started in the first place
Right.
and to help us get back on track.
Absolutely.
But even with the best support system in place,
Yeah.
there are still those days when motivation is just MIA,
Oh, totally.
like completely vanished.
It happens.
Those are the days when even the smallest task feels like climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
What do we do when that happens?
You know, I find it helpful in those moments
Oh,
to
yeah.
remember that motivation
Yeah.
often follows action.
Okay.
You know, we tend to think that we need to feel motivated in order to take action.
Right.
But it's actually the other way around.
Interesting.
When we take that first step,
Okay.
even if it's a tiny one,
Right.
it creates this ripple effect.
So it's like we're tricking our brains
In a way, yeah.
into feeling motivated
Uh-huh.
by simply starting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that old saying,
Oh.
appetite comes with eating.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the more we engage in the activity,
Right.
the more motivated we become to continue.
Okay.
And this is where routine comes in.
Okay, let's talk about routine.
Right.
Because I think for some people, the word routine
Yeah.
evokes this image of rigidity and boredom.
I get it.
Like suddenly their lives are going to be these
Mhm.
perfectly structured, color-coded calendars with zero room for spontaneity.
I totally understand that. I think routine gets a bad rap sometimes.
Yeah.
Because when it's done right,
Mm-hmm.
it's not about restriction.
Okay.
It's about freedom.
Interesting.
It's about creating a structure
Mm-hmm.
that supports our goals
Okay.
and frees up our mental energy for the things that truly matter.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
So how do we create a routine that feels empowering rather than constricting?
I think it starts with identifying
Okay.
those non-negotiables.
The non-negotiable.
Those activities that are essential for our well-being
Okay.
and for moving us closer to our goals.
Got
So maybe it's dedicating 30 minutes each morning to exercise.
Okay.
Maybe it's blocking out an hour each afternoon
Yeah.
for focused work.
Okay.
Scheduling a weekly date night with your partner, whatever it might be.
So it's about being intentional with our time and energy,
Exactly.
making sure that the things that matter most are actually getting prioritized in our lives.
And it doesn't mean that every minute of our day needs to be planned out.
Right.
There's still plenty of room for spontaneity and fun.
Right. Yeah.
But by creating that foundational structure,
yeah.
we're setting ourselves up for success.
Okay.
It's like we're creating those mental grooves
Ooh, I like that.
that make it easier for our actions to flow.
I love that analogy of mental grooves. It makes
Yeah.
it feel less like we're forcing ourselves to do things
Mm,
and more like we're creating a path of least resistance
yeah.
for our desired behaviors.
Right. And the more we practice those behaviors,
Yeah.
the deeper those grooves become
Okay.
and the easier it becomes to stick with them,
Gotcha.
even when we're not feeling super motivated.
This is all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
We're talking about harnessing the power
Mm.
of small, consistent actions compounded over time.
Yes.
But I'm curious, what about those moments when we hit a wall,
Okay.
when we feel like we're not making any progress? Because let's be real, even with the best routines and support systems in place,
Yeah.
there are going to be days when we feel discouraged
Mhm.
or even tempted to give up.
Sure.
How do we navigate those tough stretches?
You know, that's such an important point.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most powerful tools we have in those moments is celebration.
Celebrate.
Celebrating those wins,
Okay.
no matter how small they may seem. Because it's so easy to get caught up in that like all or nothing mindset.
Right.
Like we have to hit these massive milestones
Yeah.
before we can like feel any sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
But the truth is,
Okay.
those big wins are built upon a foundation
Right.
of countless smaller victories.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
acknowledging those little wins along the way can
Okay.
make all the difference
Right.
in terms of maintaining momentum and motivation.
So how do we effectively celebrate those wins?
Yeah.
Do we need to throw a party every time we check something off our to-do list?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about finding those small, meaningful ways
Okay.
to acknowledge your effort and progress.
Okay. Got it.
It could be something as simple as
Okay.
taking a few minutes to savor the feeling of accomplishment,
Okay.
maybe treating yourself to a cup of your favorite tea,
Right.
jotting down a quick note in your journal
Yeah.
about how proud you are of yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about creating those little rituals
Mhm.
of self-appreciation.
Yes.
Those moments where we pause to acknowledge our own awesomeness.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And the more we practice celebrating those small wins,
Yeah.
the more we'll start to notice them.
Okay.
It's like we're training our brains
Yeah.
to focus on the positive,
Ah.
to see the progress we're making,
Right.
even when things feel challenging.
This is all starting to feel less like a rigid self-improvement project
Eh,
and more like a gentle, self-compassionate approach to growth.
Yes.
It's about creating a sustainable rhythm that honors our efforts and celebrates our journey, even when it's messy and imperfect.
I love that you said messy and imperfect because that's the reality of any growth process.
For sure.
It's not always going to be
Yeah.
linear or
Right,
glamorous.
right.
There will be setbacks.
Of course.
There will be challenges, and there will be times when we want to throw in the towel.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get so caught up
Right.
in the highlight reel version of success that we forget that everyone,
Yeah.
and I mean everyone,
Everyone.
experiences those moments
Yeah.
of doubt, frustration, even failure.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process.
100%.
And it's in those moments that resilience becomes so crucial.
Absolutely.
It's that ability to bounce back from setbacks,
Yeah.
to learn from our mistakes, and to keep moving forward, even when it feels tough.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about resilience.
Okay.
Because I think for a lot of people,
Yeah.
the word resilience evokes this image of someone who's just naturally tough,
Right.
someone who can handle anything life throws their way.
That's interesting.
But is resilience something we're born with, or is it something we can develop?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And while some people may be naturally more predisposed to resilience,
Okay.
I really believe it's a skill
Okay.
that can be cultivated and strengthened over time.
Gotcha.
It's like a muscle.
Okay.
It gets stronger the more we use it.
So how do we build that resilience muscle?
Mm-hmm.
What are some practical things we can do to develop our ability
Yeah.
to bounce back from challenges?
Well, one really powerful practice is reframing.
Reframing.
It's about shifting our perspective
Okay.
on setbacks and challenges,
Okay.
viewing them as opportunities
Right.
for learning and growth
Gotcha.
rather than personal failures.
So instead of beating ourselves up when things go wrong,
Right.
we can ask ourselves,
Yes.
what can I learn from this experience?
Exactly.
Or how can I use this to grow stronger?
100%. It's about adopting a growth mindset,
A growth mindset.
believing that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort and learning
Gotcha.
rather than being these fixed traits.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the messy, imperfect journey of becoming,
Yes.
rather than striving for some unattainable ideal of perfection.
Exactly.
But what about those times when we're in the thick of a challenge,
Right.
when it feels like we're drowning in doubt and discouragement?
Yeah.
What are some practical things we can do to stay afloat in those moments?
In those moments,
Yeah.
I find it helpful to tap into my support system,
Okay.
to reach out to those trusted friends, family members,
Right.
or mentors
Okay.
who can offer encouragement or perspective.
Right.
Sometimes just talking things through
Yeah.
with someone who understands and cares can make a world of difference.
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to be vulnerable,
Yes.
to acknowledge that we don't have to have all the answers,
Right.
and that it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. And sometimes just hearing a different perspective,
Yeah.
someone reminding us of our strengths and past successes,
Right.
it can be enough to shift our mindset
Okay.
and reignite our motivation.
It's all so powerful.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, how does this whole idea of resilience
Okay.
tie back to our 6-month commitment framework?
I think it's woven into the very fabric of the commitment,
Okay.
because when we commit to something
Yeah.
for a significant period of time,
Right.
we're bound to encounter challenges along the way.
Absolutely.
There will be days when we question ourselves, days when we want to give up.
Right.
And it's in those moments that our resilience will be tested. But if we can cultivate that inner strength,
Yeah.
That ability to bounce back and keep moving forward
Right.
will not only achieve our goals,
Okay.
but will emerge from the experience
Yeah.
stronger and more confident than ever before.
That's such a powerful insight.
Yeah.
It's like the 6-month commitment
Uh-huh.
becomes this crucible for forging resilience.
Exactly. It's this opportunity to put all those tools and practices
Right.
we've been talking about, specificity, support systems, routines, celebration,
Yeah.
to the test in a real world setting.
Okay.
And as we navigate those challenges
Yeah.
and emerge victorious on the other side,
Yeah.
we're not only accomplishing our initial goal,
Okay.
but we're also developing this unshakable belief
Right.
in our own ability to handle anything life throws our way.
This is all making me so excited about the transformative potential
Yes.
that lies within each of us.
It's amazing.
But I know that for some people,
Yeah.
the idea of committing to anything for 6 months can feel daunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
So where do we even begin?
Right.
How do we choose that one thing that's worthy of our time and energy?
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with getting really clear about our values.
Oh, you.
Those guiding principles
Got
that
it.
shape our lives
Mm.
and give us a sense of purpose.
So we're talking about those things that are truly important to us.
Exactly.
Things that make our hearts sing and our souls come alive.
100%. Because when we align our actions with our values,
Yeah.
it becomes so much easier
Okay.
to stay motivated and committed.
Got it.
Even when things get tough.
Right.
It's like we're tapping into this inner source
Yes.
of energy and inspiration.
Okay, so let's say we've identified our core values.
Okay.
What's the next step in choosing that 6-month commitment?
Well, I think it's about
Yeah.
exploring those areas of our lives
Okay.
where we feel a sense of longing
Okay.
or a desire for growth. It could be related to our health, our relationships, our careers,
Right.
our creative pursuits, even our spiritual development.
Okay.
I think the key is
Yeah.
identifying that area where we feel a deep sense of resonance, a
Yeah.
calling to step into a more expanded version of ourselves.
It's like we're listening to those whispers of our hearts.
Yes.
Those subtle nudges that guide us towards our highest potential.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be this huge, life-altering commitment.
Right, exactly.
It can be something as simple as
Yeah.
dedicating 30 minutes each day to learning a new skill,
Uh-huh.
committing to a weekly date night with our partner,
Mm-hmm.
or carving out time each week to volunteer for a cause we care about.
Exactly.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where our passion and our capacity intersect.
100%.
Yep.
It's about choosing something
Yeah,
that feels both challenging and exciting.
right.
Something that stretches us beyond our comfort zone,
Okay.
while also feeling aligned with our values and aspirations.
This is all making so much sense.
Good.
But what about those of us who struggle with self-doubt?
Yeah.
Those limiting beliefs that whisper,
Right.
what if I fail?
No.
What if I'm not good enough?
Mm-hmm.
How do we overcome those inner obstacles and step into that 6-month commitment with confidence?
Self-doubt is something that we all experience at one point or another. It's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most powerful antidotes to self-doubt is action.
Action.
Taking those first steps,
Okay.
even if they feel small
Right.
or imperfect.
So it's about proving those doubts wrong.
Yeah, in a way.
Through our action,
Yes.
showing ourselves that we're capable of more than we think we are.
Exactly. And as we start to see those small wins accumulate,
Yeah.
as we experience the power of consistent effort,
Right.
our confidence will naturally begin to grow.
Okay.
It's like we're building this inner reservoir of
Yeah.
self-belief that will carry us through those inevitable moments of doubt
Yeah.
and uncertainty.
This is also inspiring.
I agree.
It's like we're reclaiming our power to create the lives we desire.
Yes.
One small, intentional step at a time.
100%.
Right.
It's about stepping into our agency,
Okay.
recognizing that we have the power to choose how
Yeah.
we show up in the world
Yeah.
and to shape our own destinies.
Yeah.
And, this 6-month commitment framework,
Yeah.
it's a powerful tool for unlocking that potential.
This has been such an illuminating conversation.
It has.
I feel like we've only just begun to scratch the surface of this powerful concept.
Oh, I agree.
But I know our listeners are eager to hear about
Yes.
some real-world examples of how people have transformed their lives using this 6-month commitment framework.
You know, I just love hearing those stories, too,
Yeah.
because they remind us that this isn't just some abstract theory.
Right.
It's something that real people are doing every day to create extraordinary change in their lives.
Well, we'll have to save those stories
Okay.
for part 3 of our deep dive.
Right.
But for now, I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to explore what's possible
Yes.
when they harness the power of focused commitment.
Oh.
Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. I am so ready for these real-life stories.
Yes.
You know, it's one thing to talk concepts.
Right.
There's something really magical about hearing how this framework plays out in people's actual lives.
Yeah, 100%. It makes it so real.
So I'm all ears.
Okay.
Hit me with your first story.
Okay, so picture this, okay? A woman named Maria, a single mom,
Okay.
working 2 jobs.
Wow.
Just incredible, providing for her kids,
Yeah.
but her own well-being had totally taken a backseat.
Understandable.
Just burned out, stressed, feeling completely disconnected from her own creativity.
I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Oh, for sure.
Especially, well, all of us at some point, right?
Right.
Putting ourselves last on the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was Maria's 6-month commitment?
So it wasn't about adding more to her plate,
Right.
which I think would have been disastrous at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
She chose 30 minutes every day.
Yeah.
No excuses. For movement.
Movement.
Not even exercise, necessarily. Sometimes it was just stretching.
Right.
Or dancing in her living room with her kids.
Such a simple commitment.
Yeah.
But I bet the impact was huge.
It wasn't about weight loss.
Okay.
Or like fitting into a certain size.
Right.
It was about reclaiming her body as her own.
Yeah.
You know? Finding moments of joy.
Okay.
And modeling self-care for her children.
See, that's what I get excited about.
Yeah.
It's not just about the initial goal, it's the ripple effect.
The ripple effect.
All right, what's your next story?
All right.
Lay it on me.
So this one's about a guy named Ben.
Okay.
Successful career.
Right.
But like deeply unhappy.
Okay.
He felt like he was living someone else's life.
Right.
Going through the motions.
Yeah.
He decided to commit to exploring his creative side.
Ooh.
Something he'd neglected since childhood.
I feel like so many of us have those what-if dreams.
Oh, totally.
That we've kind of shoved aside.
For sure.
So what did Ben do?
Well, he always loved photography.
Okay.
But hadn't touched a camera in years.
Right.
So he committed to taking 1 photo a day.
Wow.
Every single day.
Every day.
For 6 months.
That's commitment.
And you know what? He didn't worry about being good at first.
Okay.
It was purely about reconnecting with that creative spark.
So what happened?
Okay.
Did he become the next Ansel Adams?
Well, he didn't quit his day job.
Okay.
But something shifted within him,
No.
you know, by consistently showing up
Right.
for his creative self.
Wow.
He rekindled a passion he thought was lost.
That's awesome.
He started printing his photos,
Okay.
sharing them online, even got a few displayed in a local cafe.
Wow, that's incredible.
More importantly, he was happier. Right. More engaged in life overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
These stories are so uplifting.
They are.
You know, they remind us that we all have this power
Yes.
to create positive change in our lives,
For sure.
even amidst our crazy busy schedules
Uh-huh.
and everyday responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Okay, last story. Lay it on me.
Okay, so this one's kind of close to my heart.
Okay.
It's about a young woman named Lisa.
Okay.
She was really struggling in her relationships, constantly feeling like she was giving too much
Right.
and not receiving enough in return.
Oh, I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That feeling of imbalance
Yeah.
in relationships can be so draining.
So draining. It's exhausting.
What did Lisa commit to?
She realized that she needed stronger boundaries.
Okay, boundaries.
But, you know, where do you even start with that?
Yeah.
So she committed to one thing
What's that?
before saying yes
Yeah,
to
wait.
any request, any favor.
Okay.
She'd pause for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
No matter how small they ask,
Wow.
to truly check in with herself.
Okay, so just that pause
Yeah.
creates space
Yes.
for awareness.
Was it a hell yes?
Okay.
Or was it something she felt obligated to do?
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That pause can be so powerful.
And at first, it felt awkward.
Okay.
Even a little selfish.
Right.
But gradually,
Yeah.
those 5 minutes
Okay.
became like her superpower.
Her superpower, I love it.
She started saying no more often,
Sure.
protecting her time and energy for the things that truly mattered to her.
Awesome.
6 months later,
Yeah.
her relationships were healthier.
Okay.
She felt more respected,
That's great.
and she had more energy for her own passions.
These stories are such powerful examples of how a simple commitment,
Yes.
consistently applied over time, can create these ripple effects of positive change
Yes.
throughout our entire lives.
It's amazing.
It's inspiring and motivating, to say the least.
It really is.
And, what strikes me is how diverse these stories are.
Yeah.
Different people, different goals,
Right.
different circumstances.
For sure.
Yet they all harness the same underlying principle, this
Yeah.
power of focused commitment.
Exactly.
I think that's what makes this framework so universally applicable.
I agree.
It's not about a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's about tailoring the approach
Yeah.
to our own individual needs and desires.
100%.
This has been such an incredible conversation.
Yes.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective
That's wonderful.
on the power of commitment.
Yeah.
And a renewed sense of possibility for creating positive change in my own life.
I feel the same way.
So before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay. All right.
What is that one thing,
Mm-hmm.
that spark of inspiration
Yeah.
that you could commit to for the next 6 months?
Yes.
What small step could you take today
Mm-hmm.
that would set you on a path towards a more fulfilling, more aligned,
Right.
more joyful life?
Such a powerful question.
Let it simmer.
Let it simmer.
And remember,
Mm-hmm.
no dream is too small, no goal too audacious.
I love that.
It all starts with that first brave step.
Beautifully said. I agree.
Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our amazing listeners, thank you for being here,
Thank you, listeners.
for your openness to growth and your willingness to embrace
Mm-hmm.
that transformative power of 6 months.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep it real, keep it unfiltered,
Yes.
and keep on shining